Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Just want to just wait for 1 minute more for others to join. Still, they're having some issues with internet connections. Okay, I think that most of them are joined. Then we can just start. Okay, guys. What I'm planning to do actually today, I'm planning to go over the starter once again, and I want you to give me the interpretation in a proper manner of your results of your analysis. And apart from giving the interpretation, you should be able to disclose this information on Excel or in the Word format in a proper manner as well. I want to share with you how you can do it and how should be interpretation done. Because like a couple weeks left and you have to finish this assignment with a proper interpretation, not only the analysis, you have to add some information related to the country that you are using the banking system. Like when you do the comparison. So what we are trying to do in here, first of all, when I open the starter program in here, I have some results in here, let's say. And this is not related to your work, but more or less is the same like yours. So you import the data into here. There's no problem. You run the regression analysis and we run it in the following.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, something went, just a second. Why it didn't share? Just put the sharing screen. Thank you so much for reminding. One more time. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Here's the model. I will run some regression analysis as you did it. Let's say return on asset. I want theta, NPL, PLTL, cost to income, liquidity, and
Can't see it again.
you can see it. It's shared.
Yeah, now yes.
Okay. Okay, these are my variables that I want to run it. And I want you just to get the result. For example, this is the results I got it from my variable. So I just open the Excel file. So I want to put it in a manner so I can be easily to read and easily to understand what is what and where is what like actually. So when you copy this all and paste, copy as table, just highlight. But what you're advised to do this two parts because we have here two tables that do them separately. Like copy this, copy as table, first part, put it here. So everything should be in its cell. Now we can copy the second part, and the second part is here. Copy as table. So now everything is good. This is in mind. So this is the p-value. So standard error, etc. The t-coefficients, the t-statistics. And we have a coefficient variable itself that we're going to pay most of the attention to the coefficiency. Okay, now this is our model. Let me just great. So in this way, I can put it in Excel so that it's not like mixed. So I received some already results, and they are a little bit squeezed, we can say, and it's like the p-value are messed with the coefficient, so it's very difficult to understand where is the p-value, etc. So that's why what I advise you, that's why I showed you how to just copy and put it in a proper manner in here. Okay. Or what you can do, it is also works good. Copy as a picture. So it will just put it as a picture in the Word. Let me put it in the Word format directly. I put it here as a picture. Now, here is as a picture. Now I can make some interpretation. So I got the results in here, guys. First of all,
should we change?
Sorry?
Excuse me. So should we change what we have sent you before?
Yes, definitely, definitely. But wait, don't send me now. I just want to check it out how it works. But some of you send it, some of you did not send it yet. Those who have not sent it, don't send it again, because now you will send it with interpretation. Okay, I'll have to check it again. So this is the way that you have to send it. Then first of all, when you get this table, you have to be able to interpret in a correct way. First thing that you should put the model itself, what you're running. Your model is, let's say, return on assets. If you're doing two models like return on asset and return on equity, then put it two models. So in here we have beta 0 of theta plus beta 1 of NPL plus beta 2 of, actually NPL and PLLTL are the same thing. Why did I use it? Okay, I'm not going to use the PLL. I'm going to use directly CI Here's beta 2 plus beta 3 beta 4 of liquidity plus the error terms. So this is the model. Is the first one. If you're doing two models, you have to put two models. And what you're doing now, you need to substitute these betas by coefficients. ROA beta 0 is equal to the constant variable is 0.026 plus we go with beta 1, which is theta. It is 0.004 of theta. And second of NPL, as I can see, it's a negative sign. So instead of beta 2, I'm going to put the coefficient itself, which is 0.95 plus, is it, yeah, it's a positive. No, it's a inversely related as well. The coefficient is 0.023. And the last one, I have liquidity, which is negative as well. 0.0009. Is it 3 zeros? Yes, 3 zeros.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why we didn't use PLLTL?
No, I'm not going to use it because NPL and the PLLTL are more or less the same thing. I'm not just making that.
Oh, okay.
It's by mistake I put it in here, okay? It's different for a different purpose. Just ignore it. Imagine we don't have this PLLTL, okay?
Where do you take B0?
B0, I took it already. It's here. Beta 0 is here.
Is it constant number?
Yeah, it's a constant. Yeah, beta 0 is the constant that represents the constant, the intercept. Now, first of all, we do the economic interpretation as we did it in the class. Is the first thing that you should do. economic interpretation this is the first thing. How we do it, you know it, like assuming that I will just start using one variable, assuming that there is no changes in variables. ROA will grow by 0.026 if 1% change in theta, ceteris paribus, ROA will go up by 0.004. And you're making this for all the same thing. Like if 1% increase in NPL, the ROA will go down by this amount.
So we should calculate each of these changes.
Actually, you're not supposed to calculate. You're supposed to just explain how it affects and by how much the ROA will change if there is 1% change in each variable. And the coefficient will show the how much, but you're not supposed to calculate in here anything in the first when you do the economic interpretation. Okay? If 1% change in NPL, other things are equal or remain the same, are equal or the same, the ROA will go down by 0.95 and so on. So you have to explain each coefficient like this, each variable like with a cost to income and the liquidity. I'm not going to just write it, so you will do it. Explain all coefficients. All coefficients. In second thing, you have to test for significance each coefficient, each variable, using the hypothesis issue. We have null hypothesis, and we have alternative hypothesis. In null hypothesis, it says that beta 0 is equal to 0. Oops. Beta 0.
Excuse me,
Yes.
may you lift up just for a second, please, for the table? Got it. Thank you.
And alternative hypothesis says beta 0 is not equal to 0. So I have to find these symbols. Here you go. So beta 0 is not equal to 0. In here, when I say it's equal to 0, it means it is not significant. This is my hypothesis. An alternative is telling the opposite. It is significant. So your job is to accept or reject. And the conditions to do it, as we said, that the p value should be less than 1, 5, or 10%. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay. So now we can go check the beta 0 here, the coefficients, the constant variable. it is p-value is equal to 0, which means that we reject null hypothesis, which is H0 at 1% of level significance, because our p-value is less than 1%. We can conclude that beta 0 is statistically significant. Now we can do the same thing for all coefficients, like beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. I'm just going to copy it. Like I'm making here 3. I'm stating the hypothesis here, the same. Like H, but it's not a beta 0, it's a beta 1. The conditions are the same. So beta 1 is our theta. So theta is equal here, p-value, we can see it is 0.011. So the explanation, I'm just copying it as well. We reject the null hypothesis, not at 1%, but at 5, because it is p-value is more than 1%, but less than 5%. So our aim is to reject at least from one of each, should be less than either from 1 or 5 or 10. So we are talking about the beta 1 at 5%, because our p-value is less than 5%. We can conclude that beta 1 is statistically significant. So now we can move to the step 4.
Can I ask a question? Like,
Yes, please.
so B1 is refers to theta, while B0 is to constant amount,
Yes.
right?
Yes, very true. Very true. And beta 2
Okay.
is referring to NPL. Beta 2 is the coefficient of NPL. Beta 1 is the coefficient of theta. Beta 0 is the coefficient of the constant variable, intercept.
So when we building hypothesis, on what we are on what we're looking for, like on a table.
Here we are looking on p-values. This is p.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
P-values. P-values.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, same thing, we are building another hypothesis in here, but for the beta 1, beta 2. Beta 2 in here, beta 2 in here. So same conditions. And let's see, beta 2 is the coefficient of NPL, non-performing loans here. It is statistically significant. So I can use the explanation of this. So we reject the null hypothesis at 1% of level significant, because our p-value is less than 1%. We can conclude that the beta 2 is statistically significant. Great. Then what we do in here, we should proceed with the beta 3, stating the hypothesis for beta 3. So beta 3 in here, same conditions, and we need to see what's going on with the beta 3. Beta 3 is the cost to income. It's here, which is still statistically significant. It's 0, 0, 0. So we can use the same interpretation. Okay. When you reject the null hypothesis, it means that you're accepting the alternative one. The alternative is the true one. You say that betas are statistically significant, but in statistics, we never say that we accept the alternative. We always deal with the null. We say reject or we don't reject. And here in all cases, so far what we did, we are rejecting according to each coefficient. So now we are dealing with the beta 4, the last coefficient. So beta 4. But let me just make it smaller so that it can fit. Okay. Okay. So let us see what's going on with the beta 4. In here, we can see that p-value is more than 1%, is more than 5%, and is more than 10%. So we cannot reject the null hypothesis. So our interpretation will be in the following way. We do not reject the null hypothesis at all levels of significance because our p-value is more than all of them, all levels, more than all levels. So we can conclude that beta 4 is not statistically significant, which means that this coefficient does not exert any effect on return on assets. So from the results that you have sent, I have noticed that some of your variables are not having any effect because they are not statistically significant. So your explanation of your table should be in this way, explaining each variable. However, it doesn't mean that our explanation ends up in here. There is something that you need to explain as well. First of all, we need to check the validity of the model, whether the model itself is valid or not, because we can see that out of 5 variables, only the 4 variables are significant and 1 is not significant. But it does not necessarily mean that the model is not acceptable. So in order to be able to answer whether the model is best fitted, we should look to the F probability value, which is here. In here, you can see it was given here. F statistics. Here you go. So F probability value is here that we're looking. Okay. F value. This is the thing. The condition is the same. If p-value is less than 1 of the level of significance, then we should consider the model to be the best fitted. But however, we need to create the hypothesis in a correct way. Then clear the drawings. Now, we have now an alternative one. But in here, how we create it? We start with beta 0 equal to beta 1. This equal to beta 2. This equal to beta 3. And this all equal to beta 4. And these all coefficients are equal to 0. So which means that the model is equal to 0, which is not statistically significant. But in here, what do you do? So beta, let's say, let's leave this. I will use one more. So beta 0 is not equal to 0 first. Then beta 2 is not equal to 0. more. Sorry. So beta 0 is not equal to 0, beta 1 is not equal to 0, then beta 2 is not equal to 0, then beta 3 is not equal to 0. In here, I wanted to pay attention. Most of the students, they make mistakes. They try to equate like beta 0 is not equal to beta 1, is not equal to beta 2, beta 3, and beta 4. And this all not equal to 0. So it's wrong. The correct one is like this, okay? Beta 0 is not equal to 0, beta 1 is not equal to 0, beta 2 is not equal to 0. So each variable are not equal to 0. However, in reality, this coefficient can be equal between each other. Like beta 1 can be equal to beta 0. So what does it doesn't necessarily mean that they are equal to 0. So in here, alternative hypothesis says like each coefficient individually is not equal to 0. This is showing that the model, the whole model is best fitted, or whole model is validated. Okay, now we can make some interpretation. Look into the whole model issue here. We can see it's 0, and the condition is the same to reject or accept the null hypothesis. So we reject H0 or null hypothesis at 1% of level significance, because our FP value is less than 1%. We can conclude that our model is validated or best fitted. But this does not make any end for interpretation. Okay, now 8, we are moving to the 8th interpretation, which is R square is here. In my case, it is very small, 0.23. It is very small, so it's 23% of variation. 23% of variation in ρ can be explained by variation of variation in independent variables. Okay, this is 8 things that you should do it. But in your cases, you should have more than 23. You should have it like around 30 or 40. Or sorry, around more than 70. Because I'm using more banks in here. I'm using around 359 banks. That's why I'm having very small R square. So it's showing the 23% of changes in return assets can be explained by the changes in independent variables. So which means that these variables only explains your ROA by 23%.
Sorry, can I ask
Yes, please.
if our p-values are not significant? So I mean that they're not in a range of 1, 5, 10%. It's more than that. Do we have to do our regression analysis again by dropping some ratios, or we have to just explain?
Yes, this is what I want to talk to you as well, guys.
Okay.
Apart from that, your data, you may come up with the case that the model is not best fitted because FP value is more than all levels of significance. That might be the case. The reason is that you are using very small number of the banks, and the Stata or EViews or any types of regression analysis should consider at least more than 47 number of observations, but you have, let's say, 20 observations. So which means that you should increase the number of the banks. Like if you're using one bank, then you have to add one more bank as well, the Islamic Bank. So you should make it so this is what I wanted to ask from you. Please add one more bank to your data to increase it. This is the first thing that I want to ask. Second thing, I want you to do another analysis, which is very important, which is to show whether there is a significance, a statistical one. Okay, in a theoretical one, we know there is a difference in performance between the Islamic Bank and conventional bank. For example, how do I understand, how can I measure the differences? In here, I have Islamic and conventional banks. In order for me to be able to measure the statistical difference between the Islamic and conventional banks, I have to use the dummy variable. The dummy variable, this makes a differentiation. It is very easy to use the dummy variable. It is very easy to create a dummy variable. Let me see, I have it or not. I'm gonna tell you how it works. Here, I have the dummy variable as well. So if I use this model, I will add one more, inflation and our GDP. Okay, and I will add at the end the dummy variable. Let me show you how the dummy is explained. Why my dummy is not working here? Very interesting. Okay, I see. Anyway, okay, just forget about the dummy. But first of all, do addition of one bank more to your data, because you should get a meaningful. In the case of the countries that they don't have more than one bank, choose any bank from another country, any Islamic bank. Like in the case of Kazakhstan, Alnur, your group is doing, you have only one bank, which is Al Hilal, but you cannot select Zaman Bank because Zaman Bank, they started to offer the Islamic financial services since 2018. So it's not working with you well then. Then you have to select another bank and add the Islamic bank to your data to improve it, to improve your result. Because as I saw the results, for example, if, who sent me? Let me check it. Olcaz, can I open yours?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Look at the results. As I see, like, first of all, you will change these things, okay, that I told you at the beginning. Please change it. the proper order. Either copy as a picture and put it in that way, so it's easy for me to follow it. Okay, we can see that the p-values here, 1, 2. The rest are not significant. This is for row A. And for row A, he done the same thing. All of them are not significant. But look, all of them saying are not significant. However, the F value is given significant. So there is a problem in the model, which means the data is not enough. You should add more data in here. So at least you should expand it. Okay?
Yes, okay.
And it shouldn't take like too much time for you, because you already know what you are doing, how to increase it. You will increase it. So first of all, when you do this, when you increase, if you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I have a question. For instance, can you open the data again? Do we have to combine, or what do you mean by expanding? Like,
And wait, yes, thank you very much for this question. This is what I was planning to move it. Let's say, let me open the Oljas as well. Now, for example, this is IBS data, and I want to do the same thing for CB. Say another. This is one bank. I want to do it for another IB. Let's say this is for IB. Okay, I'm just copy pasting, assuming this is IB as well. I'm just putting just right after it. Okay. But you have to give the ID numbers to these guys. Like ID is identification number, not the names. Don't put the names in here. I just want them identified by ID. Like this is first bank. 111. This is second bank. So my two banks are here. Same thing with the CB. Okay, just right after it, right behind it. So when I run my starter, for example, if I run this one, okay, if I run this one, what will happen? We'll see the results. Import Excel spreadsheet. Here we go. We select IB. Import by first row. Now I have imported data. Before Oljas, he was doing the time series. Now is the panel data, because we have more than two banks. As you remember, if there is more than one bank, or if there is more than one country and more than 1 year, then it is not a time series, it is becoming a panel data, if you remember from the previous lectures that I was telling you. So if I want to regress it, row A, okay, this, anyway. So you need to play around to drop one variable, to add another one. For example, I saw that Alnur group, they played a lot, like they gave a lot of things, a lot of variables with the trials, like with different trials, like results are big, but what they did, they tried a lot of things, like dropping one and adding another one. Okay, let me do something in here. XI, maybe it may work. XI regress. regress. What did I do here, guys? I created a dummy for timing, for the years. I want to see which year and what effect it had on my return on assets. I created dummy for years. Let's say I select regress. Here. And I want to add, let's say, the global financial crisis that took the place 2007, 2008, and 2009. I want to see how these years affected the financial performance of the Islamic banks. Theta is not found. Why? Because you don't have a theta here. True. So what I can see here, only one variable is affecting. Okay. And what about the global financial crisis? 2007, 2008, 2009, it did not have any effect on profitability. Sorry, it's not my profitability even. Let me just try it again. Now, the cost to income is inversely affecting. And what else? The total equity of asset is positively affecting and significant. And 2009, global financial crisis affecting negatively the return on assets. So the effect of crisis is negative. So how do I create the dummy variables for timing? Is like XCI regress, then at the end as the last variable I dot years. In this way you create the dummy variables that will consider the time effect as well. If you want, you can try this one as well. Or for example, if you're running for Kazakhstan, Alnur, I'm just giving you because you are doing for Kazakhstan. And Oljas, which country it was for you?
Pakistan.
Pakistan. And they have their own currency as well. But mainly in all countries, there was a devaluation of the currency, which was 2012, 2013, and 2014. These years, we can use that as a devaluation of national currency. How it affected the profitability of the banks, Islamic and conventional banks separately. We can see it as well. In here, it didn't show.
But
it.
we don't have financial statements for this year. I mean, yet.
No. We have, I mean, in 2012, the national currency devaluation, you had it in 2013 and 2014 in Kazakhstan.
Okay. Okay.
It was a big devaluation, and you will try to see how it affected. But
Okay,
let's
thank you.
try the 2007, 2009 first. But you don't have the data before 2011, as I know, because your Al Hilal Bank was established in 2011.
In 2010 to be exact.
Yeah, thank you. So this is how it works. And try to drop some variables, let's say, Oljas, to play around. And try to see how it changes. Look, 1, 2, 3. Now 3 variables are significant by dropping 1. Okay? Or
Professor, I have a question.
yes, please.
Actually, I have 3 questions.
Yes, please.
First, so we should add one commercial, one conventional, one Islamic bank, right?
Very true.
Should they both be the same size?
No.
Again?
No. Just add it.
Okay, so size doesn't matter.
size-
Then
yeah.
we should play with the variables until all of the p-values become less than
No. At least like 3 variables, 3 or 4 variables.
3 variables.
Yeah, at least 3 variables.
Okay. And what if, for example, we play around with one of the banks and like we remove one variable, but in another analysis that another bank is gonna have that variable, and they're gonna have like different variables. Is it okay then?
Yes, yes, of course, yes. But one thing, you're doing two profitability determinants, which is ROA and ROE. If one of them is not significant, it's okay. The other one, at least like one of the determinant of profitability should have more than at least three variable significance.
Okay. Okay. And can you show how you do that dummy again, please?
Yeah, of course, of course. Look, we are doing this regression. I want to create the time dummy variables. It's just coding. It's first, before the regress, I type xi and two dots. And at the end, I'm putting dots and years.
Okay.
This is how the equation looks like. Okay, xi regress. In this way you create. Then, once you create it, on the right column, on the right side in this box, you have the years created, okay, from 2007 to 2019. So you select the appropriate one that you think that might have affected the performance of that banks at that year. Then you regress it.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
If we play around with the ratios, for instance, we drop one and at a time, do we have to give explanation for each of them? Like, for instance, economic interpretation for each of the
one you dropped it, you don't have to explain it. You have to explain the variable that you use in your model. Look, you will play around with several and you will choose which is a very good model for you. Okay, you don't have to explain all the models, all the results.
Okay, got it.
You're gonna
Okay,
select the
thank you.
best one. For example, I did 4. I'm selecting this because I have 1, 2, 3. Like 3 of them are significant. So I'm gonna use with this. I'm gonna play with this model.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Remember how you did this like B0, B1, B2? So now
Yes.
we have years here. Do we do the same thing for years as well?
No, for years you don't have to do it. Actually, if you include it, and if they are significant, yes, do it. True. You have to add the years as well. Very good, very good. So all variables that you use in your model, you have to include it. You have to include in this Beres, in this hypothesis issue.
Okay.
These things I'm gonna save it and put it in Moodle as well.
Professor, sorry, I'm a little bit confused. What should we do?
Now I'm gonna write it. Don't worry what you should do. I'm gonna write it.
Sorry, can I ask the question?
Yes, please.
So our final project will be according to this data that we use. And we should write like 7 pages about it or what?
First of all, it will be based on your results, and you will add like 1 or 2 pages related to the country that you're using and related to the bank. Give some information about it. Like economic and financial issues related
About
to that.
Islamic Bank only or both?
Both. For example, if you're using Kazakhstan, you should give me the explanation about the Kazakhstan. What is the Kazakhstan? What is the GDP growth? What is the inflation? All the economic and financial issues related to that country that you're using the banks from.
Okay.
Now, what you need to do. First of all, add 1 more IB and CB. Second, add time dummy using xi command in Stata. Third, choose best model out after dropping. What else did I mention in here?
And what does it mean after dropping?
After dropping the variables, like you will choose the best model. Let's say you will get, if your model is not significant, you will drop one variable to get the significant model.
So we have to do all these ratios again into IB and CB? To new IB and CB or what?
Yes.
Oh my God. For all the years?
What do you mean for the all years? You have
For
to add
example,
one more bank. You have to add one more bank for
two
IB.
more banks.
No, one for IB, for one for CB.
Yeah, and do all these ratios again?
Yes. Why you are doing again? You are just adding them. You are not repeating anything.
Okay.
You will just add it.
So if new banks exist much longer than my current banks,
This is what I showed you. Look, in Olcay's data, here we go. It is the same principle. Look. Just show it to you. Here, the first bank, it exists since 2006, 2019. Second bank exists from 2018, sorry, since 2008, 2019. So there are 2 years difference. Got it? So this is first bank with a 2 years longer, and this is second bank with a 2 years less. You're just adding just after the first bank. Same thing for the CB. Just add here. It can be longer. It can be shorter, but added the second bank as well. So in total, we're
can I
going to
use
have...
not all the years that are given to us?
Sorry?
Can I use not all the years? I mean, if my if maximum years that I have in my current banks is 10 years, and I find another bank which lasts 20 years, can I use just 10 years?
To be consistent, you mean, okay, make it 10 years. Okay, at least make
because
it 10
it
years.
takes too much time to calculate all these ratios.
But you will be graded for it, guys. That's why, I mean, you have to work out, and it's not think that you will not be graded or something. Whatever you do, whatever effort you put it, you will be graded for it.
What is the deadline for new submission?
Actually, now why I'm asking you for you to submit as soon as possible. You finish to submit so that I give you the feedback on the working, so that we improve it and more and better. So the deadline actually on here, before we end our semester, we should finish the project itself. So you should do the analysis as soon as possible. You finish and submit to me.
So like this is the only thing that we should do for the project, like
now we have a
analysis.
Stata analysis, and add some background review about the country that you're using.
And that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
How many approximate observations should be? I mean, years or maybe, I don't know, counts.
Now, for example, using here 10 years, you can add another bank for 8 years or 6 years. It can be no problem.
But the bank should be kind of similar to our current banks, right?
Yes, if it's not, if you're not able to find the banks in the similar side, it's okay if you find it with a different side. It's not a big deal. Just add one more bank.
Okay.
And please, about the table, the results that you're getting in the Stata, make it in a proper manner, like as I showed you at the beginning, copy and paste as an image, or copy and paste as a table.
And one more question: what were you talking about? Crisis or something like that? I didn't get what you want from us.
And now I want from you, from which country are you doing?
UAE.
United Arab Emirates. Okay.
Yes.
They had a crisis 2007, 2009. In order to see how the global financial crisis affected the performance of the Islamic and the conventional banks, add the time dummies. And how to add the time dummies, I showed you here. We're using XCI regress, this one. This is creating a time dummy. Is it clear?
Yes, and what about crisis or
Okay,
depreciation?
now we created, for example, how many dummies we create? 1, 2, there are 10 dummies, okay? Now when we want to regress it, we want to regress only the crisis period, and the crisis period was 2007, 2009. So we select from the box on the right side at top here. So we select only this, 2007, 2008, and 2009. So in our model, we selected the time crisis as well here. This is time crisis.
So the program does this crisis by itself, right?
Yeah,
according to our data.
How can we do it? We're using the command of xi regression.
Okay.
Here's the model, xi regress.
So, excuse me, in total there should be 4 banks, right?
In total, there will be 4 banks, 2 CBs, 2 IBs.
I got it.
And this is all that I want to share with you.
Is it possible to exchange the data between each other?
You mean to ask your friend to share the smart work, huh? I haven't thought about it. Okay, guys, you don't want to spend the time on collecting the data, huh?
It's kind of unnecessary work, you know?
Why it's unnecessary?
Actually,
Because you're just calculating what is done to you.
No, it's not unnecessary.
If you look in this way, all the things that we're doing, then it's unnecessary.
No, I mean, doing this data is necessary to understand some.
And collecting the data, once you recollect the data, you will learn many other things. You can't imagine when I was a student, how many data I collected. For example, I can share the data one for you that I collected and still I'm using it. Because collecting data, it is another way of getting a new knowledge. You're understanding better the itself the bank.
That's very true.
Because if you just make it a simple, easy ways, in this life, believe me, the life is much more complicated, guys. And for example, this data, tell me how long it took for me to collect it. Here, I had 359 banks. And I was collecting one by one. Look at here. How many ratios I have? I was a student. If it was for me, just make your job easier, I would just share this information with you. Like I have almost all the banks in the world, Islamic and commercial banks. I just could share this information with you so that you don't spend any time. I want you to learn it, because if you're planning to do your master, believe me, it's going to help you a lot, because it will teach you to collect the data. Because now I'm teaching the master students, even I'm teaching the teachers in other university, how to collect the data. They don't know how to collect the data. They don't know how to search it. It is a very big issue. Now you learned it to collect the data for one bank. It's good. But second step, you should learn how to collect it for the second bank and add it together. This is another story that you learned it. But imagine if I ask you to collect 18 banks or 10 banks. What would you do then? I'm just asking 2 banks, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay. I'm doing it for yourself to learn it. I know it might seem like it's a similar job, it's a boring, but believe me, when you will do the second time, definitely you will learn something from it. Okay, it's a deal. We are working on the second bank.
Yes.
Okay. Otherwise, I could have easily shared my information with you guys, no problem. But when you finish it, I'm gonna share this information to you, and it will be very, very valuable information, because not all of the scholars, they have an access for this information. Like having the all banks in hand. There is a database which is called World Bank database, not the World Bank, sorry, Bank Focus database. The cost to subscribe for the university each year, it costs 20,000 euro for 1 year, just subscription. To collect the data is another cost. Okay, guys, if you
Можно
have
вас
any...
спросить?
Да.
Такое же возможно же, да, то, что в annual reports там могут быть разные цифры, то есть за total equities, например. Потому что я столкнулся с такой ситуацией, что в одном банке вот annual report за 2019 год обслуживал Deloitte, а в другом году обслуживал KPMG. И у них total equities не совпадают, там есть разные цифры.
То есть это один и тот же год, да?
Нет, это разные... Ой, то есть, да, один и тот же год, по сути, да.
Но
Недавно
только
также
разные
было.
аудиторские компании обслуживают. Да, of course it's possible. Why? Because in accounting system, if you have taken an accounting system, equity evaluation methodology is changing. The inventory evaluation is changing. You know, equity is consisting of what?
Common equity and retaining earnings.
Yes, basically how the equity is changing. Equity is equal to revenue minus expenses. Yes? This is how your equity is changed. Revenue minus expenses basically is giving you net income. Net income is divided into two parts. One is additional retained earnings plus dividends to shareholders. So this additional retained earnings will affect your equity. How do you derive, how the firm is recognizing the revenues and how they're recognizing their expenses? There are different methodologies. For example, for expenses, there are inventory evaluation, LIFO, FIFO, weighted average methodology of evaluating the inventories. Like, for example, LIFO in IFRS is forbidden because it's increasing the income, reducing the income, sorry, increasing the expenses and reducing the income. That makes to pay less taxes and etc. So they play around. So most probably the KPMG and other auditing company, they use different methodologies to evaluate the revenue and expenses. At the end, the net income becomes differently. If you just go to that, you will see that the net income even are different. That net difference of net income brings a different additional to retained earnings. In expenses, we have a depreciation. How many methodologies we have in depreciations?
3 to 4 maybe.
One is straight line.
Another is double. Then
Double
one-
decline methodology. So one is like straight line, the other one is accelerating, like acceleration method depreciation. So when
Another is markers.
Sorry?
The markers one.
Yeah, the marker one. So this type of thing like evaluation, it affects the equity as well. You see now, for example, you realize that that you were searching and you find it out that they are giving different equity. It's good. It's a knowledge.
Да, ничего страшного, да, то, что немного не совпадают.
No, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It's just if you're a good accountant, if you're a good auditor, you will immediately understand what's going on with the company. It doesn't mean that there is a mistake or something else, because the methodology of evaluation and recognizing the revenue and recognizing the expenses is used differently.
Will you thoroughly check the annual reports and information which we use it for creating the analysis?
It doesn't matter. Choose any of it. It doesn't matter. because when you do the regression analysis doesn't deal with the numbers. It deals with the changes. It shows the direction, okay? In any way, you will find out in both the changes of same.
Alexan?
The
So as I understood, the reason why we are adding another extra, for example, Islamic Bank, is because we have a small number of observations. Is that correct?
Very true. Thank you so much. This is the most important one, to get a more close, appropriate result. Still, we are not getting appropriate result in Stata. I don't want you to load you with more information, econometric analysis, because to get the proper results, we need to work out in econometric analysis. But in order a little bit to improve it, I want you to add information more. Missing data is one story. Another story is econometrical methodology that we use. For example, in here, to get the more proper results, we should use fixed and random effect. If you notice, I'm not just overloading with this information, because it might make you to confuse. Just a little bit, one step to improve it, adding the variables more.
Understand, but what about including the quarter, for example?
Quarterly, yes. You might make your data quarterly based. It's another, so it's good. If you have that chance, that's good.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
If you
in case if we choose another bank, to add, how do we find the bank which is the similar size? So I mean, if the ratios will differ, so
yeah, Bakhtjan, I told you at the beginning, if you're not capable to find the bank with a similar size, then for example, you are okay with that. No problem, find whatever is on your hand. It can be with a different size. Okay, but at least try. If you cannot, no problem.
А я еще вот хотел спросить, вот у нас с Бахыджаном вот Islamic банк, вы сказали там добавить второй, теперь нужно добавить третий к нему?
Нет, вам не надо. Вам только Islamic банк добавить и Conventional банк добавить, и все.
Нет, то есть надо будет третий уже банк добавить к Islamic banking, да?
No. In total, you have 2 conventional, 2 Islamic. In total.
So 4.
In total, there should be 4, yes. But if you are willing to add the third Islamic bank, you are most welcome. You will get bonus for it, definitely. Extra point.
You know how some people doing this assignment like individually and some
Excuse
doing
me.
group? Is there a difference in grading?
Yep.
One more time.
You know how some people do this assignment individually and others do it like in groups of 3 or 2, and like those who work it do it in
no, there is no bonuses. If you add like no for it, no bonuses.
One more question.
Because in the presentation they will see what will be the effect of doing in group.
Okay.
One more question. So the size of bank can be recognized by the amount of assets, right? So
yes.
if assets are pretty similar, okay.
So, excuse me, you said there will be bonuses for what?
For what if you add one more bank as well, apart from the banks that I asked you to add? Like say, if I told you to add in total, to make it 4 banks, but if you make 6 banks, you are mostly welcome. You will get bonus for it.
Yep.
Okay, any questions?
Is it possible that you could like maybe give a list of banks or something?
Yes, I can give you now if you want. I sent to the WhatsApp. Shall I send to the WhatsApp group?
Just to choose, to have a choose from, like, you know.
If I give you 90 banks, will it be enough for you? Like this, I'll make it like this. I'll share now with you the list of banks. You want only Islamic banks, yes? Okay, now 95 Islamic banks with countries.
Yeah, that will be perfect.
Thank you.
So you don't spend on the searching.
And one more question. So you said the final deadline for the whole project is
30 of
20
April. 30 of
30.
April. 30 of
Okay.
April.
Okay. I thought 20.
30 of April. Please, can you check? Can you see it? No, you cannot see it. Let me send you in email, okay? By email.
Okay.
Okay, I'll send it by email or I'll put it in Moodle. Yeah,
Okay. Should we also make
May
a
you open
PowerPoint?
Word document, please?
this one? I'm gonna put this one in Moodle, guys.
Okay.
Okay, you don't have to take a picture of it. I'm gonna put it in Moodle. So list of bank, this I'll put it in Moodle plus the video that I'm recording now. Somebody is putting the chat. Let's.
And I also got a question. Should we also make a PowerPoint presentation afterwards?
Yes, of course you will do the presentation as well through the conference. Like you'll share the screen and explain everything.
Okay,
What you
great.
find, your results.
Thank you.
Will you explain us the format of presentation?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Before just getting into presentation, I'm gonna tell you how to do it, everything. And what to present exactly.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Yeah, now you can leave the conference if you want. I'm done.
All right. Thank you. See you.